Hello, Divya. We're going to taste some Mád Moser wines from Tokaj, which is a place you're very familiar with. So, 100% Furmint.
Yeah.
2023 vintage from Tokaj Mád, which is obviously the village which you probably know quite well.
Yes.
You visited the place before. And it's a very new project by a young female wine professional, Rita Takaro, who is Hungarian and an Austrian winemaker, a very famous Austrian winemaker, Mád Moser. You tell me about the wine once you tasted it.
Okay.
So, first of all, very fresh, I think.
Very fresh, yeah. Really, really
on the
fresh.
nose.
Yeah, it's very vibrant on the nose. It's
Lots of floral.
lots of floral,
Yeah.
almost like you can't smell steel, obviously, but it feels like it has a very
The
lean
steely,
and,
yeah.
Oh, wow. It's really nice. It almost has slight effervescence.
Yeah.
Very fresh and clean and
Yeah, lots of citrus.
yeah, very citrusy.
And what I think what the secret is and how they blended these wines is that anyone, whether you are a full-on wine professional, a master of wine, or you are a complete novice
Yeah.
to this whole thing, they wanted it to be enjoyable.
Okay.
So it has the complexity as a wine,
Yeah.
obviously. It has the Furmint element, which is of the grape. It has the terroir of Mád in this wine. And at the same time, it has a tiny bit more floral
Yeah.
character to it, I think. And it also has about 6 grams per liter residual sugar,
Okay.
which is just enough to
Make it quite easy to
easy to drink. So it's not gonna be completely unapproachable to a
Yeah.
young wine drinker. So I think this is the key behind it.
Yeah, and I think it would be a great wine to have a barbecue, and it's a wine you drink when people come over, or just as any aperitif. I'd imagine it would go quite nicely with oysters and
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Asian dishes
Yeah.
and these sort of
Yeah,
things
that
would.
little bit of sugar helps with
Yeah, I think
the Asian dishes.
beautiful wine. It's not light in a sense of you don't feel any power. It's still
Yeah.
coating your mouth.
It
I
definitely
think.
coats really
Yeah.
nicely, and it lasts for a lot longer.
Yeah.
Really mouth-watering as well.
Yeah.
Why did they decide to do this? Or what was the idea?
So the whole idea is Rita and Lens met in Tokaj.
Okay.
Lens has a long established connection to Tokaj. As a child, he was there with his father on a lot of wine tours, and he loved the place and loved the people. And he always wanted to do something with Tokaj, and he
Yeah.
always believed in Furmint as a grape variety. And that is where they met on a project which they did together. And then at some point they got together and decided, okay, we're gonna do something which puts Tokaj back on the world map
Yeah.
of wine, and they want to do something which brings quality in the forefront, but at the same time they will bring something completely new.
Yeah.
And I think they managed it. Certainly, if you just have a look at the packaging itself, is very vibrant, very fresh. It immediately strikes youthfulness,
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
easiness, and they managed to do this together.
I think that's brilliant, because I think one of the reasons I set up Para Dewa was because wine isn't accessible to a lot of people,
Yeah.
and it can often be seen as this really old school thing, and this is completely flipping that on its head. It's clearly targeted to young people as well, and I love that it's, even if you're not a young person, it's still something that's very, very appealing, and obviously obsessed by the Furmint grapes, given that that's where my whole business has started.
Yeah.
And it's a different expression, and it's a really nice, clean, accessible expression, because as you said, sometimes it is it can be difficult.
It's difficult, yes,
Yeah.
exactly, because sometimes wines goes into the territory where it goes to very easy, and it's gonna be that wishy-washy,
Exactly.
so easy, put it into the fridge and put ice cubes in it and then drink it. But they didn't want to do that, obviously, and then they wanted to have the complexity. They wanted to have that roundness and quality in the wine, at the same time bringing in that element of easy to drink and fresh and youthful. Wine number 2.
Nice.
Mad Moser Tokaj 2021, and this is, the previous one was the MM5, and this is the MM55.
Okay,
you might ask,
just going to ask you.
Yeah, what is this about?
Yeah.
So the fives, they have lots of explanations, but it looks like 5 is a very important thing in their lives, both of them. Lens spends a lot of time in China working with Château Changgu for the last 20 years. He is a consultant winemaker for them. He also helps them on marketing, and he's also the European importer of Château Changgu. And in Chinese culture, 5 is a magical number. I think it represents luck. That was one of the elements. The other one is they released the first wine on the 5th of May. So the 5th of the 5th.
5.
And then they released the second wine on 5th of September, which is Rita's birthday.
Okay.
And where MM5 is the small
baby,
if you can call it a baby, MM55 is the big brother.
It's fermented and aged.
Fermented and aged in oak as well. And it's a tiny production, so it's about 4,500 bottles.
Okay.
Obviously on the nose already, you get a lot more of that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a slight, like, almost cedar.
Sweet notes, definitely.
Yeah. It just keeps going.
Big.
Yeah.
And complex, but I think it's elegant. I don't know what you think.
It's not over the top at all. It's definitely got, it's got this opulence that you I guess you find in California, but without going over the top.
Yeah. When you mentioned California, it's quite funny because obviously Lens, the 15th generation winemaker.
Oh, wow.
Okay. When he was younger, he went to study in Bordeaux and he went to study in California.
Okay.
And he became very good friends with Robert Mondavi.
Right. Okay.
Which is an inspiration to him as well. And I think it's, in some ways, it's an inspiration in the wines, what he creates as well.
Yeah, no, and it's a really nice marriage of, I guess, Hungary and California, because it's got that opulence that you expect in Californian wines, but it's still got this one. It feels like it's very clearly a ferment to me. It's got that mineral. I hate the minerality. You can get that it's come from volcanic soils. That's something quite special about ferments in Tokaj, that you can always you get that terroir coming through, and I think this does that without, and it has the oak without being imbalanced. He's just balanced both of them really well with nice acidity. I think this would be gorgeous with, it's definitely a food wine for me.
Yeah. These two are very different, although it is from the same place, it is from the same grape variety, and it definitely both has this sort of volcanic, mineral, steely character. With the use of oak,
it's
completely changes the whole wine. And I often wonder whether it's the right way to go with Furmint or not. But obviously, both wines are beautiful.
Yeah,
it's just from a consumer
from
point
a
of view.
Perspective.
It's a difficult one, isn't it?
Yeah, because you're right. You know, if you get a Marlborough Sauvignon Blanc, you know what it's going to taste like. There'll be varying qualities. But one of the things I like about Tokaj is that I can go there, and I feel like there's a wine there for any type of flavor profile, from sparkling all the way to the most sweets, like super dry sparkling to the most sweet, delicious, succulent wines. And it's unique. And when I was there on my last trip, I was with Balasa, and he was telling me that I'm mad, because why would you start in Tokaj? It's the most complex region. Every single wine is different. You step from this soil, this vineyard, to this vineyard, and the soil is different. So the grape tastes completely different. I mean, that's why I love Tokaj as it is. I can see that from a branding and consumer perspective, it's hard.
For me, both of them are beautiful. And I said that before I was involved with the project, and I would say it even if I'm not involved with the project. I think both wines are very well made, very beautiful. I love their packaging generally, and I think at the end of the day, why not?
Yeah, and I like the consistency as well, because often the winemakers that I've worked with, every single wine that they make has a completely different label, so you can't even tell. I mean, we were talking about this earlier. The names are not familiar to people here in the UK, so at least if you have a brand that's consistent through your wines, you can say, yeah, I liked the MM5, so let me try the MM55.
Yeah.
I know that it's going to be
Exactly.
the same people, whereas it's hard to tell for others.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this would also, I found that, so I eat a lot of Chinese food at home.
Yeah.
And so I found that different types of ferments and different types of Chinese food go really well together. And I like one of the things that I smell in ferment quite a lot, or depending how it's made and which vineyard, is ginger. Yeah. And I do get some of those like very slight, like warmer ginger characteristics in this.
Yeah. Well, anyway, this is wine number 2, but obviously comes with a fancy vinyl lock, which sort of reinforces the message that it is supposed to be a more luxurious wine. I purposely don't use the word more quality because I think both have the quality. It's just different levels. So wine number 3, and I think we are in the final here because this is the Tokaj Aszú, which is the famous sweet wine from Hungary. You know it way too well, I think. Not particularly this wine, but generally.
Absolutely, Aszú. Yeah. And it's the one that people here know as well. And when you try it, I think people expect you to be serving them a sweet wine.
And that is exactly the reason why they brought it in, because their whole idea about the project originally was dry Furmint.
Okay.
Focus on Tokaj, the dry wines, the dry version of Tokaj, because let's be honest, that's where you sell the most.
Yep.
And it meant to be an international brand with people from Hungary and Austria and sell it internationally. Everywhere they went to, they said, okay, that's lovely. Where is the sweet wine? And they thought, okay, they can't just ignore that because obviously with tradition, with history, with everything, Tokaj is famous for its sweet wine as number 1. And here you asked off camera, why is 2013 when they only started the whole project a couple of years ago? So obviously they couldn't just create a sweet wine immediately. So they went to Grand Tokaj, who is actually on the label.
Right.
Where Rita and Lance originally met on a project.
Lovely.
And they decided that's probably the best way to start off. 2013 is the vintage, which is an outstanding vintage in recent history in sweet wine in Tokaj. Thought,
so I should stop giving away my 2013 bottles.
Probably wait a little bit with them. And build the stock up, and it will do some good for you in the future. They tasted a lot of samples, and they found a batch which was from the 2013 from Grand Tokaj, from their best vineyards, and they decided, okay, this is going to be the third. As they say, this completed the lineup as well.
Okay, so that's it. They're not going into any other styles.
Yes, well, I'll try to talk them into some red wine as well in the future, but that's a difficult one for me. And here goes the wine. This is it's big, luscious. It's 208 gram per liter sugar.
Wow.
So quite serious.
Very comfortably in 6 Aszú then.
Yes. Beautiful nose.
So beautiful. Whenever people tell me they don't like sweet wine, you just haven't had the right one.
Yes. Yeah. Lovely. Loads of sweetness and loads of, orange and marmalade and whatnot.
Get some like tropical, dried
definitely.
tropical fruits as well.
Definitely.
Dried lychee. Wow.
Yes.
Love it.
Exactly.
So I've taken when we met the last time, and we were talking about wine dessert rather than dessert wine.
Yep.
This is gorgeous for that.
Exactly.
I don't see why you would need to have a dessert. I mean, pour a tiny glass of this. It's so satisfying.
Yeah.
You feel like at the end of a big meal, you just feel completely sated from this. It cleanses your mouth because of the acidity.
Yeah.
But it just gives you this gorgeous, gorgeous sweetness, and everything that you want in a dessert is here, and it doesn't make you feel uncomfortable.
And that's the beauty of it. And I think many people who say they don't like sweet wine because they haven't tasted those wines which really stand out, those wines which really deliver the acidity which balances all this sugar.
Yeah.
Because people say, oh, it's too cloyy, I can't drink a glass of it or whatever. I'm happily drink a bottle of it, let alone a glass, to be honest. So I think it's so fresh.
Yeah, and that's amazing. It is, it's 12, 11 years old.
11 years old, and it's going to go for another 100.
Yeah. 100, yeah.
Who knows how long, but yeah.
Longer than us.
And that is what they are about, you know, bringing quality. People may or may not know in the sweet wines, but transfer that into the dry whites. And that's how they created this brand. And the brand is now here, it's in the UK, but they also can be found in the US, they can be found in Dubai, the Asian market, obviously.
But I think all three of these wines they do work very, very well in the UK market, which some of the wines that I sell, I love them, but I know that they don't work that well. But this one, like, I know that I could serve this when my friends come over. Everyone's going to love it. Everyone's going to enjoy it at the very least. And then this one, the second one, MM55, just goes beautifully with food. It's got that opulence. It feels like a special occasion wine. And then, I don't know what to say about this, but this is a special wine.
That's
You're
always
really pushing the boat out. You want to, at Christmas, it's perfect.
Yeah.
Press the in-laws.
Or just on your porridge in the morning every day. That's how I would do. Instead of champagne, you know, I would start with something like this. But
yeah, I think and what I really like about this is that you can have a little bit every day and it'll last for weeks in the fridge. Yeah, easily. Maybe not in your house, since you said you'll drink a bottle of it. But...
Yeah, a bottle in the morning and a bottle in the afternoon. Yes, but yeah, with all honesty, I think the lineup is pretty good.
Yeah.
From an easier drinking, I wouldn't say easy, because I think Rita will kill me for this.
It's not, it's got not, complexity. It's
exactly. So from an easier drinking style to a more something which competes with the best Chardonnays from California or Burgundies or whatever, to an absolutely outstanding dessert wine. One of their aim is to become a benchmark when it comes to their categories, and I think they're already on a very good level, and they're not afraid of putting these wines next to big names.
Yeah, but I think that's one of the really special things about Tokaj is there are all these. This one, I think the whole branding and marketing is great, and it's in the UK already. But I think there's just so much to discover there, and it is quite hard for people who don't know the region. And I love that this is making it much easier. And so if you want a wine that you're drinking, I would call this like an everyday luxury. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not something that you just quaff on a Tuesday night, but you want something nice. You want something a little bit special, and it makes you just feel good. Yeah. I would drink this, and then this is the special occasion, and then as I said, this is something very special. And I think these flavors go well in the UK. The branding, the way it's being marketed, I think will probably be good for all of Tokaj, not just for these wines.
And that's, I think, the benchmarking also means this as well, the marketing, because there's a lot of very good wine made in Tokaj, in Hungary, in all over the world actually. But if you don't put the right branding, the right marketing next to it, people will not understand it. I know this from my background as an importer, when I was working as an importer, that if I bring a good bottle of wine with a terrible label, I can talk people into it, but it's going to be a very difficult job, and they regretfully will take it at some point, maybe. But if they have a label like this, I wouldn't even have to open my mouth. They will just pick it from the shelf because they love it, and that's already a win.
And that's how most people buy wine.
I always say packaging is part of the product.
That's true.
Well,
great.
Anyway,
thank you.
Thank you very much for your time, and thank you for Para Dewa to accommodate us in the headquarters with loads of wine around.
There's a lot of wine, and there's a whole room full of wine as well.
So as soon as we hit the camera, we're going to start opening very expensive bottles of wine here, and that's it.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
to see how difficult it is to get it right.
Oh,
This is
very easy. Well done.
Yeah.
I usually spend about 20 minutes fighting with those caps.
That's cool stuff.